Sorry, lobsters. Anyway. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken.
Welcome to Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken. I'm Joz Wang, your host, and this is my guest co-host.
Hello, I'm Charlie Magovern, and usually I'm the guy behind the camera, but today I'm here.
In the couch.
We're going to talk some Dr. Ken.
Ken at the concert.
All right, so we always say that this episode has a lot. This one actually has a lot. The plot is very complicated, or at least there are a lot of things that happen.
Yes.
So, first things first, Damona has tickets to a concert that she gets because her friend's daughter called her a B word, and so no longer got concert tickets because it's the Dr. Ken show and not the Dr. Julie show or the Dr. Pat show. Ken snags the tickets and takes Molly and her friends, hoping to make it a father-daughter bonding event.
And so this is like really mortifying for a 16-year-old girl to go to a concert with her dad, but since none of the moms can drive and Ken's the only one who can take them, she has to deal with it. And Dr. Ken, gets a little bit over-involved, as he does, and Molly confronts him about it.
Yeah, and that leads to him going away from Molly and meeting up and finding a group of moms who cannot wait for their daughters to get out of the house, and he doesn't feel the same way, and so in the true Dr. Ken way, he doubles down on it and ends up on stage as
proclaiming his fatherly love for her, which is not at all embarrassing.
Yeah.
Well, at least embarrassing for a little bit, but in the end it all comes around.
And that's not all. Somehow, we were also able to see Pat and Damona talk about their new relationship and where it's going and how they decide to remain friends but not stay in a relationship after their flings.
Their office hookup, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually, at least for now, we've seen the little conclusion of the Pomona storylines, which is carried over 3 episodes, actually. So, but anyway, okay, so lots going on. Let's talk about concerts.
Concerts, yes. My first concert, I was forced to attend. Forced. And we can all blame the Make-A-Wish Foundation for this. Now I know that sounds terrible, but it's really not. So what happened was my mother had purchased 4 tickets to the Backstreet Boys Black and Blue World Tour circa, 2003 maybe, something like that. And my sister's best friend in high school had leukemia. And
she's fine now.
She's recovered and, very glad that worked out. But
in case you're wondering why we're laughing.
Right. So she also got a Make-A-Wish to meet the Backstreet Boys after my mom had already gotten the tickets. And since this was just the nascent stages of the internet being used for things, my mom was like, we have a ticket.
We can't sell it.
You're going. And I said, well, why do I have to go? I can just stay home. Like, I don't particularly like the Backstreet Boys, or at least not yet in my life. I'm not allowed to be proud of liking the Backstreet Boys yet.
No, wait, how old are you now? Just roughly.
I'm in 7th grade, so I'm
okay.
12, 13.
Yeah, not cool.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, it's what we would call social suicide, to be seen at the Backstreet Boys concert.
But did you know Backstreet Boys music?
Oh, yeah. So Black and Blue was their 3rd album, I believe. So at this point, I had been in the backseat of the van, the family van. My older sister had front seat, which means CD control.
Oh, she had the power.
So just on repeat. So to this day, I know every single Backstreet Boys song, but only if I hear it. I can't write it down, but if you were
start singing it.
Yeah,
start
and
it.
the deep cuts too, not just
we may have to test you on this at some point, but okay, keep going.
Yeah. So thanks to Make-A-Wish, I go to this concert, and it was awesome. Because this was, it's their 3rd, this is huge. This is when they were huge now. They're not just Millennium Backstreet Boys. They're this is their big album.
So they got budget?
They had a real budget. They were flying in on strings, doing flips, and, they, took it down with some Shape of My Heart for a little bit there. It was a great concert. And then on our way home, we actually got on the highway right behind my next door neighbor's car, and I was like, Mom, that's Lisa's mom, that's Lisa, and her friends are in that car, we cannot get home at the same time. She might know that we were at the same thing. Like, craziness, right? But my mom was a good sport. She was like, okay, and like slowed down and let them get to our house like 5 minutes before us.
That's very nice of your mom.
So, yeah.
So the social suicide was not committed.
Right, but it was close. You know, you're playing with fire there, so.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes like this is like confessions of whatever, right? So it's just confessions of Joz and Charlie tonight, because my first concert was New Kids on the Block. So that tells you, I'm a little bit older than you, so it tells you how old I am. I was probably about 7th or 8th grade too, but I'd never been to a concert before, and this is a big deal for me to go to a concert. But they were the thing for, a teenage girl,
Yeah.
And I remember like trying to pick which New Kids on the Block t-shirt to wear, and like, I don't know, like my tickets were terrible. They were like very far back, but it was just like, oh my God, they're there, and the screaming.
Did you cry?
And I might have cried a little.
That was something I never understood. The tears, I never understood about seeing a celebrity. Like, celebrities are cool. Like, oh, like, we're in LA, you see celebrities, but why are you crying?
Okay, but when you're a teenage girl, first of all, hormones.
Okay.
Okay, I'm talking about, I'm going to talk for myself. Hormones for one. But two, like,
Hormones,
back then, like meeting a celebrity or like whatever, that was actually not normal. And so you get really like enamored of the situation.
That's
Of
true.
course, I didn't subscribe to them, but at the library, where I used to go to the library every day after school, and they would have like the Teen Beat, or the Tiger Beat, was it, and the teen magazines with all the heartthrobs. And so, why am I talking about this? Anyway, but yeah, so like, I would like know like, oh my gosh, like the different outfits and the little dances, and I was like, this is a big deal,
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and I know the dances too. I mean, not like full on, but no, my friends, like a while, I guess it wasn't the Backstreet Boys, but we put on Britney Spears, the song where she's in the red cat suit. And I remembered like I played with your heart. Like yeah, and people were like, how do you know that? And I was like, what, you didn't watch TRL every day? And I guess they didn't, so.
Are we going to have to burn this tape?
Nah, that's cool.
All right, anyway, so could you imagine though, okay, this is a while ago, you went to the concert with your parents. My mom just dropped me off, so it was not, I think it would have been horrifying if my mom had gone to the concert with me. So
Yeah.
I really feel for Molly here with her dad, and of course, Ken doing the crazy Ken thing. Like,
Yeah, no, I always thought it was a brave move by parents who went to concerts with their kids. I mean, I don't know. I just like the craziness stuff. I remember I was in high school, I went to a Fall Out Boy concert, and
Okay.
there was a dad there, like in a Dr. Ken type of situation, although that's a little bit of a different environment. But, and I was like, how are you, like, yeah, exactly. I was like, that's a nightmare, that whole thing. Like,
anyway, but getting back to the show, how they
Yeah, we
kind
should
of,
talk about
how
the
they,
show.
yeah, maybe we should talk about the show. But how they wrap it up in this episode is actually very sweet, and that's what I do love about Dr. Ken in this show, and especially the Park family. That even though there's a lot of conflict, like any family with this, especially with a teenager, in the end there's just so much heart in the way that they end up, making up. It may be a sitcom and it may be cheesy, but I just love them. They're so sweet.
yeah, well, and I mean that's what happens anyway. I don't think families really get torn apart because the dad went with the daughter to a concert. That'd be a little harsh. So, but yeah, I do like that the characters are balanced enough and that they are a strong enough family that these things work themselves out.
So in this episode, we get the conclusion of, at least we think the conclusion of Pat and Damona. So we kind of talked about this in a previous episode because the whole office hookup situation was so shocking. But like the whole office hookup scenario, I got to ask you about it.
Yeah, not a good position to find yourself in. It gets weird.
See, we got a viewer comment when we were talking about this subject last time, and the comment was that because we, in the previous episode, Dino and I, our other guest host, Dino and I were talking about how we just like didn't get it and wouldn't do it and don't understand why, like it's just a bad idea. But the commenter said, well, when you work with somebody, you often have things in common, and so it's a natural place to find somebody to maybe not hook up with, but at least like maybe start a romance. And I can see that, but
yeah, no, you do, because you're around them, and then like after work too, it's like you tend to like not that you're like, hey, what are you doing after work, but
yeah, but
people that work together tend to go out together, and
I also think it depends on the fields, because the commenter who is from Hawaii used to be a teacher, and he as a teacher, I think that kind of field, that you have a certain disposition if you want to teach, right, and a certain passion for teaching and that sort of thing. So I think it depends on the kind of job too. Like any normal office job, I think, who knows, right? It depends on the specific culture of the office you're in. But certain fields, I think, make it more, if you're like a really specialized field or something where,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, that you automatically have a very large part of your life in common, and so it makes it easy to talk about that.
So in this episode, Charlie, like one of the things that comes out of that whole concert scenario is what Ken is realizing is that Molly's going to be out of the house soon. And the other moms are so excited because they get their lives back, they'll get their houses back, but Ken is not looking forward to Molly leaving, and I think that's opening up like for, a conversation about empty nest syndrome. How did your mom and dad react to you moving out?
It's kind of funny. My mom actually had a strategy, which was for every kid that left and went to college, she got a dog. So I was replaced by a chocolate lab. I think my older sister was replaced by a little tiny Cavalier King Charles Spaniel.
How many kids?
4.
So 4 dogs at the
well,
end?
only 2 dogs really, but yeah, the last, like the middle 2, she was like, well, all right, time for a dog. So, but no, I think my mom actually, it's not so much that she wanted us out, but she's definitely embraced having her own life. She runs marathons and works out and is like in like crazy good shape, but I think also she knew that everyone was close. My brother lives in Pittsburgh, my sister lives there now. When I was in college, I was only an hour away, so we all stayed sort of close anyway.
It wasn't so difficult.
Yeah, but she knew not to expect much from me. Like when I went to summer camp my first time, I was like 7.
You're like, bye, Mom.
I sent 1 letter home because they make us send 1 letter home. And it was like, everything's good. Like,
see ya.
Send more mail because it's like fun to get mail. But other than that, yeah. So, yeah.
She was like, I got to get a chocolate lab.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, my parents struggled with me leaving home. I'm the oldest child, and my parents are immigrants. So, having a kid go off to college for the first time, and that experience is, obviously it's new to them. But like, I didn't have any. I only had couple cousins that were older than me, and they were only like a year older than me. So we didn't really have that experience of like somebody going off to college. And my cousins, they stayed close. Like I'm from Orange County. They went to like, UC Irvine. And I ended up at UCLA, which here in LA, like that is far. Orange County in LA is far. It's only like, an hour away, but it's not really an hour, right? And it was actually really hard for me. I actually didn't even apply to UCLA because I did not want to go there because I knew I would have to stay at home. So my parents are very upset that I didn't apply to that school. But I got into UCLA, and I actually applied to all these schools out of state. I actually got scholarships and that sort of thing, and I had to decline them because my parents wouldn't let me go out of state. So I was kind of mad because I was like, if that was what it was going to be, I wouldn't have even applied, right?
Right, yeah.
But I ended up at UCLA, which I'm very happy about in the end.
It's a decent school.
It's okay. But anyway, we'll do the 8 clap later. But for me, it was really hard because the year that I started UCLA, there was just this massive number of people who accepted the letter of intent to go, and so they actually ran out of housing for freshmen. So school was starting, and they guarantee housing for freshmen, and I was on that list, but they were like, it was September, and school started like first week of October, and there's still no housing for a bunch of us. So I was actually commuting from Orange County to UCLA for like a couple months, which my parents loved, but it was horrible for me. It was really horrible. And once they realized how taxing that commute was, they let me get an apartment with other freshmen at UCLA who were kind of in a similar boat. And I never went back home, to their dismay. So, I mean, it's not that far, but.
I think you're touching on something, though, in that the first kid is a much different beast than I'm the third of four. Like, by the time they got to me, they were just like, yeah, whatever.
Chocolate lab time.
Every rule was sort of dissolved by the time, the whole be home at this time, the don't go here. That was all.
Your siblings, broke all that ground for you.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you were definitely the groundbreaker. Yeah, it's just, I think that's the way it is. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. So I think, going on in future episodes of Dr. Ken, hopefully there's more seasons, of course, and that we see Molly, do things like, apply and go off to college. They may have a chance to explore this, and I'm really excited about that.
That's a good, story arc to follow, because I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that we have to ask our audience about this episode. And this episode is Connect the Concert, and we earlier disclosed our embarrassing first concert stories. So we kind of wanted to know if you had, maybe not embarrassing, but what was your first concert? Did your parents take you? What was it? Let us know in the comments. Tweet at us at Post Show and Tell, like us, subscribe us, and do all that fun stuff on social media. Thanks so much for joining me.
It's always fun to be up here.
Thanks for coming, and
Thanks,
see you
guys.
next time.